This is my 5-year plan. This is a schoolgirl pigtail on a 29-year-old. And this is just Paul. Welcome to my sleepover under the stars! Get my free merch in the shot. Yesterday I got to stop by one of the LA offices of one of my favorite and what I think is one of the most important channels on YouTube right now, which is Freethink. They are not paying me to promote them, no one is. But if you were looking for a channel that highlights innovation and change and community in this world, then I'm going to link some of my favorite episodes from this channel that I've watched so far, and you can watch it next. I am no way associated with any other YouTube channel, and any opinions and beliefs expressed on This Is Just Paul does not reflect any other organization or YouTube channel therein. Now on to me trying to spread some good in the world. Let's talk about failures. So last week we spun the wheel on a category that we've actually had quite a few times. And I posted this very sensual picture on Facebook, mostly so that people would pause to actually read what I had to say. And it actually got to work.
The shame.
But seriously, some of you guys asked some really good questions. And I'm going to read some of the best questions before I get to the episode's main topic, which is how I deal with my own failures. Dozerman says, how do you deal with the mafias within the office whose interest is you to lose the coming election? I'm gonna skip that one. Raphael asks, best, worst experiences in concerts. That is a great question, and I would love to answer that. I'd have to say that my favorite concert that I've ever been to was for We Were Promised Jetpacks. It was at a smaller venue. It used to be an old Elks Club, and it's called Spirit in Pittsburgh, Lawrenceville, whoop whoop. And they started having shows there, and one of their earlier ones, I think like within their first 1 or 2 years, was We Were Promised Jetpacks, which is a Scottish, should have looked this up before I said it on my show. I believe they're a Scottish band, and I have been a fan of theirs for years, and when I learned that they were actually coming to America, I absolutely had to see them. So they played in the basement of Spirit, which like had a downstairs bar, kind of like a low ceiling, floor, just an open floor, no seats, no nothing that had anything to do with really being at a concert, I guess. There were a good amount of people there, but just the setup was so intimate. And a couple of my friends came out to hang out with me mostly, and I enjoy the music and I enjoy talking to everybody, and I just danced and danced, and they played one of my favorite songs last, and it's just a really nice memory. My least favorite concert or worst concert experience was actually when I went to go see 30 Seconds to Mars, and me and my friends from college, we traveled from West Virginia to Ohio, which was annoying. I actually don't even remember the trip there. What were we doing? It just took a long time for 30 Seconds to Mars to come on stage, which I eventually got kind of peeved at. And the dude in front of me kept spilling beer on me, so I just kind of smelled like beer all night. I was in a sweaty mosh pit, and I really just wanted to go home by the end of it. I did discover New Politics there, which I still really like to this day. Great showmanship with that band, and just really, really fun act in general. But I did not like that concert. So both Phil and William asked some similar questions that gave me the idea for the topic of this video. I try to be a help channel, even though sometimes I don't deserve to be giving advice to anybody. What am I doing here? But I feel like I kind of have a somewhat unique outlook on this subject, so I'll share what I think anyways, then you can do whatever you want with it. So let's talk about failures. Did you guys ask me this question because you watch me fail at things so often? Like, I was the worst child actor ever. I'm a really bad dancer. I'm just kidding. It was actually a really good topic to talk about. So for this video, I tried to think of some of the big definable failures that I could reference. We already did a story time about my worst audition ever, which was really the only bad audition that I can ever remember having because it was so funny. Like, honestly, the reason that I told the story was not about like, oh, how do you get over failure? It was more about, it was just a ridiculous experience. You guys can watch that, you know, after this. But even that experience resulted in me not getting into the program, but me then going on to do rec radio, which obviously I have no regrets. But as I really thought about this subject, one thing that I just kept coming back to was I think I have such a hard time thinking about my failures, not because I don't have failures, but because the idea of failure is just not at the front of my mind. It's not in my vocabulary. Is it selective memory? Is it selective ignorance? I think to me, most of my failures are just not necessarily failures, but they're just not yet wins. And true failures, if you want to call them that, is just when you stop trying. So if you never stop trying until you die, then maybe you'd fail then, but you didn't necessarily get to experience the failure, so it doesn't hurt. Wow, what advice. I think that's something a lot of Hollywood actors don't mention enough, is that Hollywood is filled with a lot of silent failures. I pretty much experience failures every single day, and that's not an exaggeration. I mean, 7 times a day, I will submit for something that I'm applicable for as far as casting goes, be it for a dramatic role or a commercial or a stupid Instagram promotion. And when I either don't hear back from them or I do an audition and also don't hear back from them, it's technically a failure. Well, I actually can calculate a number. I submit to about 2 or 3 databases. I pay for databases, I put my pictures on databases, I put my reels on databases. You can actually, on 2 of them, see how many submissions you've actually submitted to. I did the math, and so far, since I moved to Hollywood 4 months ago, I have technically failed 305 times. I never needed to know that number. Wait, no! 304 times, because one of them, count them, one of them, resulted in a paid job that I successfully completed. I am not saying that I don't experience crippling anxiety from day to day, sometimes can't fall asleep, and cry on the floor of my room sometimes, because I do, on a semi-regular basis. But I think one of the lessons that I learned pretty early in my life, which I am constantly reminded of when I ever feel that way, is that I'm so ununique. I'm so ununique in the way that I'm so far from the only one that experiences exactly this. Like, I'm not only talking about anxiety, but anxiety because of the industry that I'm in, or what I look like to other people, or if I'm good enough at what I do. Actually, thinking about it makes me pretty anxious. But I think the more that the world opens up, where you watch people on YouTube and you interact with people that are honest on their social media, you really get a sense of, we might not all feel like it, but we all are here together, and we're experiencing, and practically every emotion, every thought that runs through our brains, every feeling that gives us that sour pit in our stomach, we all have felt at some point or another. I'm sitting here in front of a camera like I have some kind of authority, but I felt the same bad feelings about myself that you have. I've picked out everything I don't like about myself, and I lay it out on a daily basis. But what a waste of time it is to let that stop you. One of my best pieces for advice when it comes to building up to the place you want to be is to put your successes on your wall. When I was little, there was this song. I don't know if some of you guys remember it, but I certainly do, and it stuck with me for a very, very long time. It's called Everybody's Free to Wear Sunscreen, and it was, I don't even really know what it was. Baz Luhrmann apparently wrote a graduation speech and put some music to it. It was the last song on, I think, like Now 1 or 2. I listened to that song like gospel, and I actually listened to it for the first time last night and cried like a baby, because pretty much I haven't listened to the song since I was a teenager, I don't think. And it was so cool to hear how, like, everything that was said in there was pretty generic, but it also was incredibly true to human life. But one of the lines that stand out to me the most and is most memorable to me is, keep all your love letters and throw away all your old bank statements. And generally, it kind of means keep the good things around, keep the positive things around, and just throw things away that give you some kind of pain or anxiety that don't matter. But what my advice is trying to say is use every tiny, almost insignificant piece of success that you do have within the realm of what you're trying to do, and use it as stair steps to take you to the next step, to shuffle you forward. Use lessons learned and knowledge gained and alterations made to stack up and climb up on top of. I had this ex that was very depressive all the time. He was always just so disappointed with his life, and nothing I could ever really say could get him out of that headspace. So one day, he and his band had a really big show. It was with a really big other band, and it had a huge crowd attached to it. So what I did is I printed out a picture from Facebook that showed the crowd. I got my my wristband from the night and some other memorabilia, and I put it in a shadow box. And the point was for him to put this on his wall, so that every time that he would sit up and he would look at this shadow box hanging on the wall, he could remember that he achieved something. He experienced something positive, and there could be more of that if that's what you focus on instead of the negative. And I guess another thing that keeps me so positive, even though I get anxious and scared a lot of the time, is that I love the process of doing what I do so much. I was on set one time and I was working with this actress that I ended up not getting along with really well, big surprise. And she said something to me that really defined what kind of creator I am and what kind of person I am, I guess. And we were doing stuff as actors that was kind of uncomfortable, like weather conditions that were like a little bit uncomfortable. And I remember this actress saying, "I can't wait until we have our own stunt people to do this for us." And I responded back to her, "I'm actually really proud that I can say that I did this all myself." And I know that when we're anxious, we ask ourselves, like, what if I'm really bad at what I do? Like, what is the difference between the hundreds of thousands of people that don't make it versus the few that do? A lot of people like to chalk it up to luck, but in my very genuine opinion, I've always thought that luck was not necessarily random. People have luck when they're in the right place at the right time. But it's those people that put themselves at the party where they talked to the right person or met the right colleague that was going to help them get to the next place that they wanted to be. Or they were the person that was making their own content to put themselves out there before anybody else was giving them the permission to be seen. It's the doers and the makers and the trekkers that get there before the people that are sitting at home and waiting for something to happen to them, for them to be discovered by walking down the street. I'm an actor. I'm supposed to be the kind of person that waits for somebody to make me a star by casting them in some kind of great project. But I never sat down and let myself do that. Let myself wait around. And as far as being a beginner and amateur, that's not supposed to be a title that you have forever. The more that you do, the longer you do it, the more criticism that you take and apply, the better you become. To me, persistence is absolutely key. And I mean doing things for years. And that's scary to some people that really want to get where they're going now. But again, if you enjoy the ride and you're getting a little bit better all the time, your expertise will come. If you're somebody that has the ability to both take and apply criticism and also change and adapt to your environment, that's the kind of people that survive in any kind of industry. And then when you inevitably fail over and over and over again, you just lather, rinse, and repeat. Am I even a success? Should I be the one dispelling any of this advice? I act like I am sometimes, but I'm just figuring everything out as I go as well. And when I do figure pieces out, these little nuggets of information, I like to share it, because making things go full circle and just surrounding yourself with a growing community that is helping each other, that is where the magic comes, And that's where you set yourself up for success. I hope you got anything out of all of that I just said. I actually really love this topic, and I could talk for quite a few hours on the same stuff. But now it's time to spin the wheel. I have to go get it. I didn't expect my arm to hurt this much after I laid like this for so many minutes. Am I in focus? Enough. Question of the week as I'm coming up with it. How do you get over your anxiety and I'm not even going to say if you have anxiety because I think we all have anxiety. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that. Audience choice. Okay, you know what? I think I have enough subscribers at this point that I really don't have to worry about not getting enough submissions. So if there's something on this wheel that you feel like you haven't seen enough of, here they are. Here's everything. Write down in the comments what you want to see, and I most likely will pick the one that gets 2 votes instead of 1. I have to go run off to a photo shoot. It's one I set up myself, so it's not like anybody asked me to take photos or anything. But I hope you have a wonderful week, and I'll see you on the next one.